What's up, guys? Oh, just came out here real quick to the high tunnel to take a look around. It's raining outside, so I actually drove down my driveway to keep my camera dry. But I was kind of doing a little planning and wanted to think about the space, and I think about things better when I can actually lay eyes on them. I was waiting kind of to see how my citrus recovered from the big freeze that we had. Some of it lived, some of it I'm not 100% sure. I think there's still life in this, but it probably is just going to need to be pruned back a lot. So I think a lot of these are I'm going to go ahead and try to move them to pots and see how they do. The place where we got this gravel, we drove by it the other day and saw that they had more back in stock. It's been out of stock for months. So we're going to finish graveling the floor in here. When we started planning the high tunnels, when we first made the garden plan here, kind of had this idea that I wanted to do like a perennial high tunnel, and my hope is that I could keep citrus in it over winter. Of course, we had a winter this year that was colder than average. It hit a low that's much colder than usual here in our area, and the citrus really struggled. And what I realized in doing that was that I don't want to have a perennial high tunnel, because basically what that means is spending the winter with a bunch of things essentially in dormancy during the time that if they didn't have those things in there, I could be cranking out a lot of food. You know, a high tunnel is really best for production over the winter, especially when you live in a mild place where I can have things like brassicas growing all winter with this cover. And I decided I don't want to give the space to perennials. So, was kind of on the edge. I'm waiting on some pots to come in that we're going to put this citrus in. And my idea is if I have the citrus in pots, if we do have a forecasted very cold snap, I can put it in my glass greenhouse and heat it. Heating something like this, it's just not really feasible. But the glass greenhouse, you can totally heat. Another thing that we had in here was asparagus that we had just put in to kind of fill out the spaces of the beds, because we had a bunch of it that needed a place to go. And in deciding to shift the majority of this space away from perennials, we decided to move the asparagus out. And Will actually filmed setting up a place for the asparagus across the pond in his classic style of showing something with little talking, which I love. So anyway, let's check out Will setting up the asparagus bed. Now I still have ginger back in this row. We'll see what all comes back. I believe that it'll come back just fine and grow a good deal this year, and I'm probably going to leave the ginger. But I'm thinking cleaning out most of these spaces is going to be the way to go. I'll probably leave the banana plants just because they strike such an impressive look in the high tunnel and in the summer. Bear! Hey, Bear! You can come in. Come on. It's okay. But yeah, I love the banana plants. So this last week, Jeremiah and I actually went out of town. Which when we go out of town, especially if it's just Jeremiah and I that are going to be out of town, I always make videos and have them uploading while we're gone, because I don't want to advertise, obviously, to thousands of people that my children are here without us. Obviously they had someone staying with them, but we went down to Florida and soaked up the sun some this week and had a grown-up trip, which was much needed. We miss our kids, we miss our farm, and they miss us. But as my kids said right before we left, they said, we're really gonna miss you, but we're really glad that you're in love and you want to go do things like this. I was like, that's very sweet. It is true. I am thankful to be able to set the example for my children that relationship requires intention. And even, in situations like going out of town with just grown-ups and going and doing something fun together and spending time together, I'm glad that my kids see, like, oh, this is kind of uncomfortable. They're obviously sad to leave us. We're sad for them to go. But sometimes relationship requires intention, so it's good. However, I will tell you, it has been 80-something degrees all week for me. And I've been wearing shorts and linen dresses and just loving it. And so coming back to nearly freezing rain and cold, it's not great. It's not my favorite, but it's okay because it's seed starting time. That's great. So now that the asparagus is out of here, that pretty well cleans those out. Once we get the citrus out of those, these are going to be open. And I'm thinking I'm probably going to grow quite a lot of peppers in here this year. I think I'm going to heavily use this space for that. And maybe do some like lower and lean with maybe cucumbers and stuff. I was going to update you guys on Will's asparagus bed that he made, because that has been this last week that he did that. And I'm sure that it's starting to have maybe a little bit of growth over there even at this point, because it's been several days, but it's pouring down rain, so I can't take you over there. I'll show you in a later vlog. We'll keep an eye on it. I really think I'm going to like having that asparagus going down along the pond, though, because you establish an asparagus patch and it can potentially be there for decades, literally. And so I think that's going to be a really good place for it. We will have to fence it off when we start running like cows and stuff over there, but that's okay. It won't be a big deal to do a small fence around that area. And we may even expand it and grow more asparagus along the pond side. I think it'll be really good. I came out because I was just kind of trying to imagine what I was going to put in here as I'm preparing for seed starting. I'm really trying to wrap my head around how much space I'm giving to different types of plants. And in my experience, the peppers do really well in the high tunnel. I get asked a lot about why have a high tunnel. And, I'm still learning how I want to do things, just like with choosing not to do perennials in here over winter. That is me learning. And a lot of times the way I have to learn things is by application. Like conceptually I can think, oh, this is a cool idea. But then a lot of times I do it and I'm like, this didn't turn out how I wanted. And that's basically what happened here. I thought I'm going to do a perennial tunnel. And going into the winter, when I really, really would love to have had a very productive space, having this full of dormant stuff, I was like, it's not really how I want to use this space. I mean, you're investing a lot in setting up a high tunnel. You want it to produce. The benefit, though, of a high tunnel where I live is not just production over the winter, though that is a big benefit. It's that in the summer, this thing serves as the holder of a 50% shade cloth. We roll the high sidewalls up. We have the high sidewall kit from Grower Solution. We roll this big door up. And so this thing is essentially fully vented. And with the shade cloth over, it's actually cooler in here than it is outside. And since peppers are something that love the heat, but that actually suffer a lot from sun scald, you know, my experience is by growing peppers in a high tunnel, you really get to control the sun level as well as the water that they get, because you're watering rather than them getting rainwater. And I have really enjoyed growing peppers in a high tunnel. So that's largely what I'm leaning towards out here. And then in this area right now has just been like this big gravel area, which the idea of this was to have a staging area for up potting things. And that's what this mess is just kind of the residual of things that have been up potted. We're going to get all of this out, and this is probably where we're just going to put all the pots of citrus and keep them most of the time. And then in the winter, we'll put them in the heated glass greenhouse if necessary. Now right now we also have artichokes in here, and these I will probably leave in here as well, simply because they actually suffer in the heat of the summer. They tend to die back and shrivel up when it's extremely hot and very, very sunny outside. And so I think that these will thrive in this space. I've got some here and some down there, but overall I'm liking the direction that we're going here. I think it's going to be really good. Oh, it's such a misty cold rain. Of course, we still have asparagus in those two beds also, that one and this one. All right, let's go in here. So these guys should be popping up any day. I actually moved the soil aside and saw them starting to come out of their seeds. It's a little chilly in here, but they'll be okay. That's the last thing I started right before we went out of town. So they've been in there for just a handful of days, and they'll be coming up soon. And then here's some different stuff Will started this week. Some different flowers and eggplants. This cold snap that we're currently in should be the last that we have for a little while. It could still freeze again, but it's going to warm up a lot after this. So I'm planning on getting out here tomorrow. Tomorrow the high is like 60 Fahrenheit, like 15 Celsius. So that's really nice and sunny. It'll be good and warm in here. And I'm thinking I'm going to get out here and like really knock out a lot of my tomato starts, start my peppers, and really fill it out some. I kind of waited, and still Maya still has to build my table, but that's like the top of his list, so he might be out here working with me while I'm off to one side. Thankfully this is a 16 by 20 greenhouse, so we can both comfortably work in here together. Right, Bear? This space is going to be so full of life. I can't wait. I think this rainy day, recovering from vacation, is going to be perfectly spent on my couch, snuggling with my kids. They can watch a movie or something, and I can go through all my seeds and get prepared to dive in to my favorite time of year. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I will update you on the asparagus bed over there when I can actually show it to you without getting my camera wet. And if you want to see more of Will's videos where he's doing that style of stuff, I love that he's willing to turn the camera on and send me the footage so I can share it with you guys about some of the stuff that's going on here. But he has been making some of those, he calls them Life of a Permie videos, where he's kind of like just showing the steady rhythms of work in permaculture, and I love it. I think it's really cool stuff. I'll link his channel down below too. So thank you guys for hanging out with me today and for hanging out with Bear. You gonna say thank you? We bless you. Until next time.